never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
G'day, folks. How are you? I've got to tell you, what a day, what a day, what a day. I have just had a piece of the most fabulous news. One of you has been chosen randomly to get $400 million. Well, maybe that's $400,000 cash, US. And I know this person will donate very generously to us because it's Tony who's received that text. Folks, want to tell you, if you receive texts like this, please ignore them. Please ignore them. You have not won anything. They're trying to hook you into a Telegram scam and stay the hell away. It would be so nice if we did have someone who won and decided to donate very generously. But unfortunately, you'll have to stick with whatever happens on Thursday nights. Or do they run lotto just about every night of the week these days? I think they probably would. The demand would be insatiable. Given the way the economy is going and the way people are going. Anyway, that's a whole other story. How are you, folks? Bloody nice day today, at least in my part of the world, and I hope it was in yours. Gail was first in the house tonight. No, not doing the census. Well, we're going to talk about that, Gail, because that was my initial response as well, but turns out there might be some coercive factors that might have you change your mind. And I owe Corinne Dwyer, the lovely Tim Dwyer's beautiful wife, a great apology. She rang me yesterday afternoon to ask my advice about filling in the census. Not sure why she'd be asking me. She's got a perfectly, very, very, very perfectly good husband. However, I hadn't checked into everything that's going on at the moment by that stage, and I was having a small crisis with power. So I was a little distracted, and I may have fobbed her off a little earlier. But anyway, I went in and checked what's going on today, and we shall talk about the census in the very near future. All is not as it seems, and I think it's highly important that you do the census. Gomez, good to be chatting. Nice to have you on board. Robert, I hope the leg is improving on a daily basis and the Birdsville trap is firming up. That'd be a bloody good trip out there. The bus wouldn't make it. It'd fall apart in the first kilometre of corrugations, but be a bloody good trip all the same. Aussie Sue, God love you. I hope life on the island is kind of laid back, a bit like the farm, I guess. And speaking of the farm, I don't know if Sandy and Baz are in the chat. Usually that would be the case. Sandy be cooking about now and asleep in about 15 minutes. So I hope you're doing well, Sandy. God love you. I haven't rung Jan. Jan, if you're watching the show, I've heard about the relish. I've tasted the relish. I remember the relish. God, I love the relish. Jan, I will send you a text probably after the show if I remember. If not, I will definitely call you tomorrow. I know where you're heading, and there is half a chance I'll be in that area later this week. Well, could be anywhere from tomorrow onwards, actually. It will depend, but I think it's more likely to be Thursday or Friday. So, Jan, if you're watching the show, expect me in your area Thursday or Friday. That's up towards the sunny coast, folks, for those who are up there. Waptha, speaking of the sunny coast, I don't know if Waptha has piled into the chat yet tonight. I haven't got that far down, but I was speaking with Waptha today. Now, let's not get panicked, but Waptha is in the hunt for somewhere he can pull up and rest his foot. He has to be gone from where he is before the census, because the people that have got the place don't want him on there before they've got to start filling in details about it. So for whatever reason, he's got to pack up his stumps, so to speak, and hobble off. Now, he has found a little place that may or may not be the end solution. So he's got something in the interim, but If you are north of Brisbane and south of the sunny coast, I guess, even on the sunny coast, and you do have a little bit of land somewhere, you wouldn't mind him pulling up with his van, and he's got a magnificent cooking trailer and associated other bits and pieces, and you could find a bit of spot of land for him, that would be very beneficial. If you can let me know, carl@vofhq.com, I would forward that on to him. He doesn't need anyone to look after him as such, but I'm a little concerned that he does need even ground. He won't tell you that, but I think even ground would be the best thing for him at the moment. At the moment, really, the only thing he can do that will best aid the recovery of his foot is to keep it raised. So he's not terribly energetic at the moment, but he is very willing to work around the property doing whatever he can. And obviously, as he improves, he will be up to do a bit more. And I've got to tell you, the man has a few skills. So if you are in any way, shape or form in a position to help him out, like I say, nothing urgent. He does have somewhere to go. However, it is going to cost him what I would consider to be a fairly rich amount for what is ostensibly a very small patch of dirt that provides nothing other than the dirt. So at any rate, I guess we've got to pay what we've got to pay in these times, haven't we? And I've been very fortunate with people who've taken me in, particularly Tim and whatnot. I mean, I'm no drain on what they do other than power, and I try and pay for the power. So that's been great, power and water, but I don't use a great deal of water, I've got to tell you. I do shower, but yeah, anyway. Yeah, so if you can help out Wapta and you happen to be, anywhere from Brisbane, I guess, to the Sunshine Coast, in that sort of area, he has a son in Brisbane. He wants to be able to be close to him and go and attend things like the basketball last week. So that's the reason. But Sunny Coast, maybe even, I don't know, he's always been a north side boy, I think, since he's been up here. So he might want to stick to the north side. I don't know about south side, but we'll open to all offers, I guess. So carl@vofhq.com. if you can help him out in any way, shape, or form. Gomez, you will do the census, but not know what religion to put down. You put down Christianity. We'll talk about that very shortly. Also, sex orientation. You're not a date puncher, but was a fan of Alan Jones 20 years ago. I'm crying. Oh, God, I'm sorry. Thank you, Gomez. Best laugh I've had all day. Alan Jones is certainly in court. These charges sound really, really, really... Well, I've only heard evidence, I think, from complainant J so far. Yeah, thanks, Glenn. You're right. I did need a good laugh. And complainant Jay has been saying, "Oh, gee, I went to Alan's place and I was sitting on the couch with him and we were watching the tennis, and he said, oh, why don't you go and have a shower and come back in a robe and nothing else?" And so I did. And then I came back and I wore my underpants. And Alan said, "Oh, I told you to come back and just have the robe on." But it didn't worry me. Alan got a hand. What are you doing? Go and have a shower, hearing that, and then get shocked that he's reached out and grabbed John the Stalk. I mean, I think Alan Jones's defence is going to be worth listening to, folks, because some of the things that he's been charged with, particularly with this bloke who says it was not consensual, but the man seemed to put himself in the position a lot. on a regular basis, although there may have been coercion in for that too. Can't really talk about it. There is a case going on. You can follow it. There's money involved, all sorts of stuff. At any rate, that'll play out over the next few months. And hopefully, Gomez, you can keep coming up with golden ones like that. Sorry, I'm not going to read it again because it'll just end me. Aussie Sue, God love you. We talked about you and the island. I hope it's all going well. The like, share, and subscribe button is there, folks. Now, I'm looking at the moment. It says there's about 115 on the main channel here, and I can't really look at Rumble at the moment, but there'll be a few on there. Hello to Rumble. We've just instigated a few changes on the Rumble channel too, by the way. Vincenzo is now going to be waving the I am the master of the room flag over there. So we'll get a bit of an idea, but your comments will be actioned, should I say. So let us know about that. And don't forget to give us that thumbs up, because the algorithm is kicking our ass at the moment, I've got to tell you. And that is probably because I keep talking about things they do not want us to say. Thanks, Vince. 21 on Rumble at the moment. Good on you, folks. We get a lot of people watching the show, not live on Rumble so much, but they pick it up afterwards. So don't forget to give us that thumbs up, folks, if you're watching it not live, but afterwards. We've also had an interesting discovery today, and thank you to One Eye or Skipper Pete, depending on which way he turns up in the chat. He's the one who alerted me today to the fact that yesterday's show had the comments turned off on it. I can assure you that I, nor Vince, because he was asleep and I wouldn't know how, did not turn the comments off. Now, we will go back in tonight and see whether or not YouTube have made some back-end changes to see whether or not comments have automatically been disabled on this channel every time we do a live, and it transfers over to the post-live area. That would be the opportunity for them to stop the comments. At any rate, we have found the appropriate button. We have ticked it. We've clicked it. We've nodded at it. We've kicked it where it hurts. And now, all things being equal in a beautiful world, you should be able to leave a comment in last night's show, and we hope going forward into tonight's show. I missed that Truth Seekers comment that came up, Vince. Thank you, Paul. Paul01. Yes, I got your email. Really looking forward to 8 days' time. I can't wait to see what turns up. People have been saying, where's the hat? The hat's where I can't reach it at the moment without showing you the other end of me, and that's probably less desirable than this end. So Aussie Sue's looking for a place to stay, leaving the island and coming to Melbourne. What? Bloody hell. Looking for a warm place for Sue to stay. Well, I was talking to the wonderful Brucey today, Bruce in Maryborough in Victoria, where he told me that, and this was around lunchtime today, they were starting the fire. Normally, they do not start the fire until the afternoon, but yeah, good. Normally, they don't start it until the afternoon. Today was so friggin' cold, they resisted and resisted and resisted, but around lunchtime, they'd had enough and the fire was on. So moving to Victoria, I was talking to my daughter down there a couple of days ago. She, too, has been saying, oh, Dad, I certainly should have reconsidered winter. It's an unpleasant thing. She is living with a reverse cycle air conditioner that is doing all the heating in the little place that she has. And the little place that she has in Victoria has Queensland-style thin curtains on it, so it doesn't retain heat on the inside, and has some big windows around it too. So trying to keep the heat in, very, very difficult. So Aussie Sue getting off the island, looking for a quiet, warm place in Victoria. Well, look, are you specifically looking for Melbourne, or are you happy to move out of town, Sue? Tell me. Maybe it's best if you email me where you think you might want to go. Are you looking to rent? Are you looking to buy? All those sorts of things. Anyway, give us an idea, and we would love to be able to point you in the direction of a warm place to stay in Victoria. I would suggest a bushfire, but I don't think there are any there at the moment. They're all in Greece, Europe, which seems to be burning to the ground for a whole range of reasons. Hello, the lovely Connie. G'day, Wayno. Nice to have you in again, too. I said g'day to Paul 01, and thank you, mate. I'm looking forward to the delivery. Like I said, can't reach me hat. Somebody asked me last night, it was Jenny, I don't know if she's in the show, asked me to reach out to Guru to see how he is. I did that today. I just sent a text and haven't heard anything back, but he might be in hospital getting treatment, or he might just not give a shit. So at any rate, I reached out and that's where we are. So if he gets back to me, I will let you know. Fat Carl, Qual, good on you. Nice to have you, brother or sister. I'm quite sure. Speaking of sisters, do you remember Cooker Watch? I had an interesting relationship with Cooker Watch in that she emailed me, and we did have a behind-the-scenes chat going on for quite a while. Debates, arguments. I was being told just how strange I was, but I was less strange than many of the other people out in the marketplace at the time that Cooker Watch and her mad Cooker Watch crew had managed to get onto. I haven't heard from her in a long time, over 12 months. And I figured with all this new information that was coming up, I understand that she had been unwell and that there were certain things I don't know if it was ever made public, and I don't feel the urge to make it public, but she did have some health concerns, funnily enough, after the jab. And I believe she came through those okay. And then she rang me one night. We had a conversation where I was still led to believe I was the moron. And very friendly, though. I was very friendly, a moron. I found out she had a boyfriend. She was very excited about that. And then I've heard nothing ever since. So I thought I'd send her an email just to say, oh, did you happen to see Anthony Fauci at Congress? Any of those 111 questions seem relevant to you or familiar? Because God knows we were asking them. Yeah, weird. Oh, so you're not moving to Melbourne. Oh, good. Thank God. Why the bloody hell would you move? Oh, I think you've got relatives down there, haven't you? But anyway. All right. Bloody cold wet here in North Central Victoria. Yes, Ann Penny. That's pretty much where Brucey and Peter are. And that's pretty much exactly what they said. Bloody cold. All the better to find the gold with out there, though, I'm told. So, yeah. Thank God for global warming. Yes, Daniel. Well, you know all about that in Canberra. Although, I've got to say, when I was in Canberra last week, it was cold, but the days were absolutely crystal clear. Has anybody anywhere seen striping of the sky in the last week or so? Have you seen anything that we would formerly have referred to as potentially chemtrails? Have you seen any of that? No. Have I got Ribena virus? No. I think it's just a function of the lighting and everything else I have around me here. I have a few things that are slightly tinted red, so maybe that's what's coming across. Or the simple fact that I just have a ruddy complexion because I'm a fat bastard and finds it hard to breathe. I would have thought you would understand that, but maybe not. It's all good. Queensland, thank you. What the beautiful one day, perfect the next, and then a cyclone or two pops in. Absolutely, that does tend to shit on your parade. Cyclones are rather messy. All right, I'm going to keep rolling on into the show. I think I've said hello to most people. G'day, Ian. I hope you're all right. You'd be bloody cold over on the other side of the Gulf where you are too, mate. G'day, Angie. Been a little while since I've seen you. Joanne Nice to have you in too. And I think I've said g'day to most other people. G'day, Andrew. Don't know if anybody's reached out. They haven't to me for the dogs, but maybe they have to you. Andrew D. Smith is the man with the puppies that I showed off last night. I would show them off again tonight, but I've taken them out of the system, so I can't. Daniel Weir, would you like a puppy? And there is his answer. I might use that a little later in a lot of things. Thank you, Daniel. All right. Let's get into this and have a bit of a look. How many Christians are there in the world, do you think? Here is what Vince has been able to dig up about the Christians. He says in the entire world, 2.3 billion Christians exist. That's 28.8% of the global population. Islam closely follows with 2 billion, just over, or 25%. Then there is a no religious affiliation with nearly another 2 billion people. Hinduism with a bit over 1 billion people. Buddhism with 324 million, 178 million for other folk religions. I don't exactly know what a folk religion might be. And Judaism, 14.8 million people. So these figures you can expect might be a few years old, given that census data from around the world is how these things usually get collated. What I can tell you about these figures is that in Australia, Christianity, all denominations, there are 11.1 million of us, or 43.9% of the Australian population, as at the 2021 Australian Census. Now, in 1971, the Christian denomination breakdown was a little different. It was 86.7%. So since 1971, we've dropped from 86.7% to 43.9% when it comes to identifying as Christian. I got to tell you, folks, we have to learn how to spell Christian, because in the census, which you will, if you are smart, fill out. If you aren't smart, you will be prepared to take on the battle for what could be the next, well, call it 2 years, and I'll be generous saying 2, because I reckon they could stretch it to 3. And I reckon a lot of the arguments that people will put forward, the notices they will provide, the fiduciary duties that will be argued, could stretch that out quite easily to 3 years. And at the end of that 3 years, they're still going to fine you, okay? Because the bastards have made changes to the legislation to do so. We'll get to that shortly. But here is what question 24 of the 2026 census looks like. Now, here it asks, what is a person's religion? And at the very top, no religion is the box of prominence, if you like. Now, it's not there by accident. It is there to catch lazy people. It is there to catch people who don't consider themselves Christian because they don't go to a Catholic church or a Church of England church or a Uniting church or a Presbyterian church or indeed a Greek Orthodox church or a Baptist church. You notice they're broken down by churches here, not religion, but by church. This is by design, folks. So if you want to register yourself as a Christian being someone who, like me, doesn't go to church unless it's a funeral or a wedding, and I don't get invited to either very often. I don't go to church. I don't sit there and think that the good Lord needs to hear me, everybody else in that church, and everybody in every other church about the same time every week say exactly the same things over and over and over again, except the gospel. That would change every week. But or the sermon, rather, that the minister in our case would give, because I was brought up Church of England. However, I went to a Catholic boarding school. Should I tick both boxes? Not completely sure. No, I think really what we need to do is learn how to spell Christianity, because it isn't there anywhere, nor is there a box to tick for other. It just says other, please specify. So I urge you people, learn how to spell Christian. Whether you believe yourself to be Christian, believe in God, you don't go to church, that doesn't matter. Christianity is based on the morals that you follow. Now, that doesn't mean that you're a Bible basher or that you believe or follow every one of the 10 commandments. If you did, you would be rather unique and people might be bowing down to you as a deity, because none of us are free of sin. None of us. However, it might be the right time, just between you, me, and the gatepost, to maybe ask for a bit of redemption. Learn how to spell Christian, okay? And then do that to your box. Make sure they know. All right? It is so important. It is so important, because what they will do with this information is they will start breaking down our nation. Now, let's just flick back to the current numbers, right? Let's just see how many of the 9.9 million or 38.9% of people who claim no religion, and I will wager better than 5 million of those live a morally Christian existence. They may not know all the 10 commandments, but they know the difference between right and wrong in a Western Christian civilization. You cannot be brought up in Australia, until recently, not knowing what a Western Christian democracy or a Western Christian civilization actually is. Now, I know there are a lot of young people out there not into religion, not into God. Don't talk to me about God. Don't preach to me. I don't want to know. I know everything already. Well, if you know everything already, you will know that you have been brought up in a Western Christian way. Now, whether that means you go and visit God in church every week or indeed offer prayers to him at any time of the week is neither here nor there. You need to register your Christianity. You need to wave that flag, because I can tell you the Islamic number there, 813,000 or 3.2%, that's 2021. Where do you think it's going to be on August the 11th this year? It's going to be a damn sight more than 813,000. But then why not look at Hinduism and Sikhism? They're the other two big numbers we need to keep an eye on. 684,000 or 2%, 2.7% of the population in 2021. The Sikhs, 0.8% of the population in 2021. Given the way that Labor has thrown open the doors to Australia for anybody who wishes to come here from India, given that we have universities who are bleeding international students dry so that they can get cash in their coffers, and they're now, apparently, some of them are starting to open campuses in India, which might be nice. I'm not sure how many Australians are going there to study, or how many Indians for that matter, but at least they've got an office open, I guess. As those numbers increase, be them Islam, and I notice that Islam is not broken down into Sunni or Shia. All right? No breakdown into the church that they follow within Islam, and yet Christianity is broken down into Catholicism, into the Church of, Anglican Church, Church of England, the Uniting Church, the Presbyterians, and the Baptists. No Jews. Nope, you're right, Tony. Jews have to write that in too. Oh, that'll be something else. That'll be another woe is me moment. I mean, why is everybody always picking on me? It just is how it is, isn't it? I mean, now they've been left off the census. You've got to think that that is about the world's worst thing that can happen.
Why is everybody always picking on me?
And I'm sure we'll hear about it in the coming days too. We're certainly hearing about it on Sky News, or what do they call it this week? News 24. they've been complaining a lot about Jews not getting enough, not being seen enough, not being heard enough, being overlooked, being overseen, overrun, over whatever. Just gets a bit much after a while. Got to turn it off. I'm sorry, Peter Credlin's very, very, very good, rather interesting to watch, but and Bolt, my Lord. Although he is starting to show some rather interesting turns of phrase if you're following him, particularly regarding the Victorian state election, which we haven't spoken about. Pauline was in Melbourne yesterday announcing the first 8 people to stand, I think it's in the upper house of the Victorian Parliament. They have, in my opinion, put forward a really good young leader, and he's an ex-serviceman who could still be called up if he had to be. There are ex-Liberal Party hard hitters from the background who have moved over. There are ex-policemen, one of whom claims that he was one of Dan Andrews' personal security police during COVID, and he has some stories to tell about just how bad Dan Andrews behaved in that period, and I'm sure that's going to win him a lot of votes. The rest of the One Nation team will be announced in Victoria, I think, next week or later this week, and we're waiting with bated breath to see whether or not Trevor Andre, our mate from Ripon down in Victoria, is going to get a Guernsey as the member or attempted member for One Nation to fight for the seat of Ripon. There's probably going to be a wealth of people and knowledge down there, but I've got to say, Trevor has been working tirelessly for, I don't know, the last 6 or 8 weeks on his social media, promoting Ripon, promoting what he can do and the kind of person that he is. He's a very genuine, hardworking bloke who has some great ideas for that area, and I think would be a very strong member of One Nation, as will the many people, I'm sure, be that have applied. And there were some 1,200 or more that applied for the Victorian jobs, if you like, as parliamentarians to be the candidates for One Nation. There are still over 1,500 applications in line for the federal seats. One Nation are working their way through that, and they've got the luxury of time a little bit to sort their way through those. However, fingers crossed for Trev that he will be able to get up and get a Guernsey in the election coming up in November. At the moment, it appears that One Nation is running second by a very, very, very tiny margin to the Coalition. The Coalition are falling over themselves, and in fact, the leader of the Liberals there, Jess, whatever her name is, has been tarred with a brush, being a bit snobby, being a bit highfalutin, being a bit full of herself. The ego's getting away. That's only come out recently. We will see. Personally, I think Pauline Hanson has 100% the right idea. She needs to get rid of the ABC, and she did it very, very effectively at the announcement yesterday. You've probably seen Avi Yemeni standing there gleefully aiding and abetting an SBS reporter who was trying to get a word in sideways as to why the ABC was kicked out of that press conference and why the ABC will not be welcome at any One Nation press conference. Then Chris Kenny piped up and said, "Oh, don't you think, you're missing out on the regional audience," and yada, yada, yada. And Pauline snapped straight back and said, "I don't mind. We've got Avi Yemeni from Rebels here, and he's good enough for me," she said. So it's very clear who the media team for One Nation is going to be. Avi revelled in it, obviously, and it's not surprising for a variety of reasons. If you've got eyes to see, you'll know what I'm talking about. But of course, the absolute biased crap that comes out of our ABC does deserve the name change. And although even elements of the ABC Media Watch, I think, has come out and criticised the program that was responsible for the Gina Reinhardt slur, so far, I think a Greens member has come out against it. A couple of Labor people haven't said it should, the ABC should take it down, have said, "Oh, no, it's wrong." And I believe one of those is the skeleton known as Katie Gallagher, who's Anyway, a few of them have come out to try and do and say the right thing. However, I don't suspect that will last for long. They're just trying not to lose any more votes. They smell and sniff the wind like that. Speaking of sniffing the wind, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it, because that lying bastard of a politician from Queensland, Murray Watt, came on my screen today, although I think this is a press conference from yesterday, where he announced just how badly Australia is going to fare now that there is a new pandemic worry. We have 74 reported cases of bird flu in this nation. I'm not exactly sure how we get them, but we've got them. Now, bird flu apparently not transmissible to humans just yet. That fear-mongering will come a little later in the year. However, at the moment, it is able to cross into other birds, our national birds, our native birds is what I'm trying to say, as well as any other non-native birds that might be here, and mammals. It can cross over into mammals. Now, I'm not sure if a bird eats a lizard, not really a mammal, not going to work. If a bird eats a human or a koala, no. A kangaroo, no. I'm sure there are small mammals a bird could eat. Mouse. But I can't see the mouse being a carrier for bird flu after it's been eaten. Can you? Maybe in the bird shit. Maybe that's how they do it. I'm not sure how it works. At any rate, don't breathe the air. Bird flu's about. You'll be back in a mask before you know it. God help us all. A lot of people, particularly young folks, have taken advantage of this 5% deposit scheme that the Albo Sleazy government decided they were going to try and break the nation with. Might be having a few problems. Now, there are predictions here that if the market loses up to 10%, it could put people in a position who had the basic, only the 5% deposit. It could put them in a position where they owe twice as much as their deposit was worth going into the market. Now, that'll only happen and only affect them if they have to sell. But of course, the other crunch for this is that the interest rates are going up, the economy is going down, and only late this afternoon, a warning has come out of, I think it's 100 Australian companies who are planning to lay off thousands of people between now and the end of this year. Now, I'm not sure if that's 2026 or the end of this financial year, but I'm sure it's going to be a progressive thing and it's going to be dramatic. We're talking numbers in excess of 10,000 people losing their jobs, and whatever will be the on-flow effect of that. Thank you, Labor. Thank you, Labor. But if you happen to have a house and you've taken advantage of this 5% deposit scheme, you could find yourself wrapped up in what could be what they're calling a once-in-a-lifetime, is it? Let me just go back to this. I think it was, was it there? Wipeout having taken tip. No, righto. One of them here says it's once-in-a-lifetime event, once-in-a-generation slump driven by tax changes, high interest rates, and a flagging economy. Have nothing to do with the budget the wankers put up a couple of weeks ago. That have nothing to do with that. Most people, well, I would hope most people would have noticed that the left-wing media seem a little reluctant to report on what's happening with Anthony Fauci or any of the major revelations about COVID. Now, there is a reason for that. They are accomplices to what has happened, and many of them are trying exceptionally hard to forget everything they said and did, particularly against others. Some of the things they came out and said about people who refused the jab on air. You may have been told you should never be allowed out of your house again. You should never be allowed. Some people suggested we should be taken out and shot because we are such a danger to community. Well, I don't know that we can expect too much out of the mainstream media that will come along and help us fight that roll back. And I guess the question that I have is, when this statement says, if you're waiting for the day for the left-wing mainstream media to report the truth. That day is never coming. They will lie, they will deny, deflect, ignore, etc., to their very last breath. So the truth must be disseminated by we the people. It is up to us. It has always been up to us. The problem is, many of you are still listening to the people on your radio in the morning or the afternoon, or watching the people on the TV that told you this shit. You're still supporting them by that viewership. You're supporting their bosses. You're supporting their business. I would urge you to turn it all off. I would urge you to write letters to those channels, particularly the mainstream free-to-air channels, all of them. Write to their managers, their managing directors, who may or may not be have been in charge at the time of all this went through. Many of them won't be the same people that were in charge, because those fuckers have taken the money and run. They're currently living it up in the south of France, or have bought themselves a new 3-level pad in Noosa and are waiting for the boat to arrive. Don't worry about them. They're out. So the excuse will be, oh, that was under my watch, or that wasn't this, I had anything to do with it. The fact is, if they're a manager or running a network now, they were involved in management back in the day. Might not have been with that network, might have been with another one, but they were involved. And they wouldn't have got to where they are without their complete support of the program to eradicate people like you and I, who refused the jab and tried to tell people exactly what was going on. And now, 5-6 years later, it's starting to be borne out that we were telling the truth. We were right. That we were shut down, humiliated, abused, and sacked in many cases. Made and I think there are still nurses who, if they had decided that they wanted to go back into nursing, are still not able to because of a mark on their record. Because that mark said they willfully disobeyed a direct order or something, and they could never be employed again in a health service. Now, that was Queensland Health for a long time. I'm not sure if that still holds, but I did know that it was in other states as well. If you're a nurse and still know that that holds, that you will be punished because you left rather than acquiesced to the coercion that you were subjected to, I'd like to hear from you. Really like to know how that is progressing. Now, Donald Trump has been doing some weird, strange, and magnificent things, some people say. Some other people say he's been speaking absolute shit and destroying the world. 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Both might have an element of truth. However, he has come up with a new idea. I don't think this is a bad idea. I quite like this idea. Maybe people can explain to me why this would be an idea we wouldn't like. Oops, I'll stop playing around with all of this. Trump wants to scrap federal income tax for anyone earning $150,000 or less. Now, what would you think of that? Should a government here in Australia with half a brain do something like that? Now, I'm not saying it should be $150,000, but let's say it was $100,000 or $80,000. If the tax-free threshold were $80,000, how much of a difference would that make? And bear in mind that people with that sort of threshold currently aren't providing the most amount of tax being paid in the country. Big business could certainly lift the amount of tax that they pay, but apparently they're allowed to employ lawyers and accountants that minimize tax, where people like you, me, small business owners are not allowed to employ anybody that can help you minimize tax. In fact, if you even go to your financial advisor or to your accountant and ask for them to help minimize your tax, they, by law, have to report you to the ATO to say, oh, look, Carl came in the other day and said he didn't want to pay tax. He wanted to minimize his tax. Well, there's nothing wrong with minimizing the amount of tax that you pay. Who wants to pay more than you have to pay? Nobody. Absolutely nobody. But the government want to take more than you're willing to give. They want to take everything. They're already taking 50% of a lot of Australians' wages. A lot. Oh, but you don't pay tax on the first 18,000, isn't it? Or 19,000. It might be 21,000 now. It needs to be the first 80,000. And then with that money, we might be able to start putting programs together for young people to get back into the trades, because trade apprenticeships in this country are nosediving. We've imported a nation full of nail technicians and Uber drivers. That's it. Nail technicians and Uber drivers. We have not imported a nation full of electricians, builders, anything like that, plumbers, nothing like that. I know there's a program to import a whole heap of Indian builders, plumbers, anybody who wants to get in the building game over here. God help us. They'll have to reach a certain Australian building standard. I'm not sure if it's the same Australian building standard Australian builders are going to reach, but they're going to have to reach a standard. We need to get our kids back into the trades. And for me, this is probably, I get a bit of a smirk on my face when I think about the data centers and the number of data centers that are coming into this country and around the world. Who the fuck's going to build them? They don't build themselves. We haven't got the Chinese robots out here yet to do it, although I'm sure that'll happen. But who's going to lay the cables? Who's going to run the wiring? Who's going to screw the lights in and put the bulbs in? Who is going to build the infrastructure that is required for these mega data centers? Because we don't have the tradies. How are they going to build friggin' houses if they're building mega data centers? And if you're a tradie, I guess you'll take the money. Oh, well, it's great money, because like the big build in Victoria, it's money you can't refuse. It's once in a generation money. This takes you from being a, moderate to well-paid builder to being the top of the pile. You can build your own castle and run it from there. All because of the corruption, the waste. Well, there's no waste of money. It goes into somebody's pocket. They're not burning it. It's just going to keep going. Yeah, they can't even wire an NBN properly. NBN, fuck me. The rollout on the NBN, if God help you if you're still trying to get it. I remember when I was in a house, we were trying to get the NBN connected, and it had to come a matter of, 10 meters from the road to the house. It required 3 different teams, one to come along and inspect the site, one to come along and dig the hole, one to come along and lay the cable, then another bloke to come along and actually connect the whole thing together. If one of those first 3 things couldn't happen because, somebody hadn't dug the hole right, or, nobody had been there to inspect the hole or whatever, nothing happened. And you went back into the end of the queue until that same bloke could come back and dig the hole, rather than just say, oh, yes, it needs a hole dug. Anyway, most frustrating thing ever. And funnily enough, most of the blokes who were turning up to do all their work weren't Aussies. Not at all, my goodness gracious me. No, but no. They weren't Aussies. And I believe that there was quite a rort going because they got paid for call-out fees on all of those, whether they did the work or not. And it was a significant fee, $200 and something odd from memory. So the motivation to actually get the job completed first time round wasn't high, because they could come back and make 2 or 3 goes out of you. And that's exactly what they did in a great many of cases. I'm not sure if it was all of them, but certainly everyone I've ever had to do with had that sort of shit happening with it. Now, Donald Trump has also been blessed. I say that with a question mark. He has got a new highway named after him in Morocco. Now, Morocco might be trying to curry a bit of favor with Donald Trump. They have put together a video that is absolutely stunning. 1777, Morocco was the first country to formally recognize the United States of America. Yada, 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 yada. Now, they've built this $1 billion expressway and called it the President Donald Trump Highway. It stretches some 1,500 kilometres. It's like Cairns to, well, not quite Brisbane. That's about 2,000 k's, but you get the idea. 1,500 odd k's. Call it Melbourne to Brisbane, that sort of distance. And it comes through what is known as the Western Occupied Sahara Desert. Now, you might see from that photo, and here, let me show you another one. There is something pretty consistent about all those photos. See the sand? Now, sand blows, wind blows, sand blows, and the highway, I think, is going to wind up covered in sand, like on a daily basis. It's going to prove a very deadly highway. I'm not sure they do a lot of road work in the UAE to get sand off the highway. So I'm sure they've got that sort of infrastructure ready to go in Morocco as well. Although at the moment, Morocco seems to be occupied in other ways. Morocco is on the northern coast of Africa, and across a small strait is Spain. But you've probably seen vision over the last couple of days that would scare you if you lived in Spain. There are two cities in Morocco that have been carved out basically since the 15 and 1600s. They have been part of Spain and recognized as part of Spain since then, but they are most definitely on the Moroccan side of that strait and on what is surrounding it, Morocco. However, these are towns with borders and, of course, being Spanish or under Spanish protection, they are part of the EU. Now, Morocco has let a lot of Africans into Morocco, the African migrants coming from, obviously, south of them. And a lot of those are now proving extremely violent. But I can tell you it is no joke when you see migrants arriving. By the truckload, not trying to hide it. You know, I can play that pulls up at the border and they're all piling off and then they're fighting their way through the border. They can pull up at a beach that has a fence that extends itself out to sea. They go out, they swim around the fence, they come back in on the other side. They're in Spain and they're covered by the EU migrant laws. Now, all that is a bit rich, given that Trump is trying to stop illegal immigration into America, obviously, and Morocco have just said, "Oh, here, President Trump, we've put this beautiful 1,500-kilometer road together for you. Shut your mouth while we let what is now ostensibly 100,000 immigrants terrorize the cities of Spain on the Moroccan side of the border." And terrorized they are. I have videos, folks, that now I am not allowed to show you, particularly on YouTube. YouTube have changed their rules regarding what can and cannot be shown. But the videos that I have got and could show you are probably too graphic and you don't want to see them. They show migrants walking up to citizens in the street and stabbing them in the throat. There is one bloke who has a screwdriver in the side of his head. He's still alive, but he has a screwdriver in his head. There is one fella who is stabbed straight in the throat, and he essentially bleeds out within minutes. There is another fella who is stabbed 14 times by this one fella, and then that fella just walks off and bleeds into the crowd that is now milling around. Now, there has been a little bit of a turn in that the Spanish military have apparently hit the streets, so let's see what happens there. The clapping that you're hearing is from local residents who have been too scared to go into their own streets. what I'm not seeing here with these military men are weapons. Not seeing any guns, not seeing anything that's sort of guiding these people. It more looks like they're being escorted. So my jury is still out on that one a little bit. Nick Shirley was chased by a man with a knife and getting stones thrown at him. Yep, absolutely, Deb. There is all sorts of atrocities being committed inside those Spanish territories, and Morocco are pushing hard. Okay, Truth Seekers, do it again. If anyone has a granny flat they're not using or a spare room for, Susan, Truth Seekers admin, would be appreciated. She'll be living in her car, leaving Tasmania tomorrow. Shit. Well, I guess coming to Victoria is a bit of an upgrade in your car. It'll be slightly warmer, but only slightly. So I guess Truth Seekers, reach out to Truth Seeker TV, or if you don't know how to get a hold of them, email me, and I will forward that off to Beck, and we will make sure that we can at least help out in that regard. If you are doing a little bit of traveling around the country, I would be beholden to you to keep an eye out for anything that looks like this.
You want to see what's even more insane, though? Look at how close we are. We're right in the neighborhood. Isn't that nuts? Right next to the houses, guys. That's a 25,000 watt rotating microwave beam. S-band, same frequency neighborhood as your Wi-Fi router, just orders of magnitude more powerful. Mounted on a steel tower, surrounded by residential homes, operating 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. The FCC says the power drops off fast with distance. That's technically true, but nobody's measured cumulative chronic exposure in the houses right next to it. Nobody's required to neither. See, they got the security.
Unbelievable. That security he was just about to go into, it has no site markings on it. It has no site number. There is no contacts. There is a security video camera and a keypad gate, but none of the stuff that should be on the site to identify who put it there, who's in charge of it, who you need to call in case something happens to it. Nothing. Now, we do have those sorts of things floating around the country. I'd be interested if you've got anything like that around you. If you do, you'll probably be on a hill or living in a hilly area. And just be aware that the Bureau of Meteorology have rolled out a lot of new radars. They are under a dome like that as well. So usually those are built a bit higher than something like you've just seen. But if you do see anything like that, I'd be very interested to learn more. And finally tonight, I have some what I think is sage advice for you.
Have you noticed that? Like, literally nobody has Adam's apples anymore. Seriously, go watch a movie from the 1960s. Every guy looked like he swallowed a little golf ball. Today, half the dudes on TikTok look like they moisturize with oat milk and literally apologize to their houseplants every day. What on earth happened? The Adam's apple, it develops during puberty as testosterone changes the voice box. No testosterone signal, no dramatic neck fruit, right here. Now, here's where things get interesting. Atrazine is one of the most widely used herbicides in America and has been detected in water supplies all across the country. A researcher named Tyrone Hayes became famous after studies showing extremely low doses of this affected the sexual reproductive systems in frogs. They worry about the skull and crossbone chemicals. Meanwhile, the stuff affecting our biology often arrives looking completely normal. It's in the water, it's in the agricultural runoff, it's in the foods we assume are healthy, and it's exactly where nobody pays attention. As a father, that's what absolutely gets me. I spend my time looking at the quiet one, the ones that nobody's talking about. And for my family, organic whenever possible, especially higher exposed stuff with glyphosate, a quality water filtration system is so key, my friends. It's worth being a skeptic when it comes to your own water supply. The most dangerous things alive are rarely the things that look dangerous.
Atrazine is used in Australia, most commonly in sorghum, maize, sweet corn, sugarcane, triazine-tolerant canola, and lupins. It's also used in some forestry applications, pine and eucalypt plantations, that kind of thing. Maximum residue limits for atrazine on foods, for example, do exist, especially for maize, sorghum, sugarcane. Now, maize and sorghum, isn't that stuff you would feed animals? Interestingly, so that's going into your food supply. Sugar cane going into our food supply. Sweet corn, lupins, food supply. Certain animal products where livestock may have consumed treated feed. These limits are intended to ensure residues remain below levels considered acceptable under Australian regulations. We might do a little more investigating and find out just how under the regulations they are. And I'll give you the tip. I don't expect they'll be underneath them much. Finally, tonight, I thought I would leave you with something that, there you go, there's the email address, truthseekerstv17@gmail.com. If you can help out Susan, who's coming over from Tasmania, needs somewhere to stay in Victoria. Otherwise, she's in the car. God, geez, I didn't think we were going to become a homeless place here tonight. But that leads me to another question, I guess, around the census quickly. Who's counting the homeless? Now, the Bureau says they're going to send people out into the field on the night to go to the places where the homeless sleep and get them to fill out the census. Now, from memory, the last time the census came out, it took me 90 minutes or more to do it. There were so many frigging questions. I can't imagine that these people who are living rough on the streets are going to be very happy about having these happy clapping folks who turn up from the census office saying, oh, look, we're here to help. Here you can fill out the census. Well, it's not really helping me, you numpty. A lot of those people are going to be women, and a lot of them are going to be fearing for their lives, because some of the camps where you're going to find these homeless people at 6 o'clock in the evening is probably not going to help you, because they've been on the piss and the meth all day in some cases, and you'll find that they're not terribly welcoming. Now, I'm not saying that all people are like that. Certainly not. There are many families and many, many great people who are in bad positions living rough. But they're living beside the people who are drinking piss and taking meth and behaving very, very poorly. So I don't know how they can expect to do anything really with the homeless numbers in Australia. And God knows there is a shitload of homeless Christians in Australia right now. Who's going to count them? 3,000 just up the road from you, Paul. Well, I'm sure they'll send some do-gooders into the camp and they'll see that it all gets done. It is so important, folks, that you learn how to spell Christian for this census. It's so important that you don't have to confess your love for God, although it probably wouldn't hurt you. You don't have to pick up a Bible. You don't have to start reciting prayer. You just have to recognize your roots, your Western Christian roots, and remember always how to spell Christianity. Because if you don't, this place is going to be so full up with dickheads that our roads are going to be unable to be driven on.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!